I hate having my YouTube feed pop up with a thumbnail of a creator coming at another creator. It's classic drama farming. I really don't want to do that because I'd rather be someone who can have fun, teach people, and entertain people. But this one time, and please be the last time for several years, I am not restraining myself. I want to speak up against toboruo. Here's the thing. I believe that when you have a conflict with someone, especially as a person on social media, first freaking step, you don't go making a video or a post online. You settle it in call with that person. So I have already tried to deconflict with toboruo, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and 2 of the 3 occurring while live streaming. Every call, what I advise him has always been the same. I respect his criticisms, I even cite some of his criticisms, but I have never once accepted his way of conveying them. Constantly, he will try to justify that his ways are the most suitable to get his message across, to which the question also becomes, what does he want people to agree with? For a lot of people, your first and perhaps also second contact with toboruo is one of these 2 videos. And for a lot of new players of Endfield, it's this video. This is the longest video that toboruo has ever done. He scripts and edits his videos, which is something I would praise him for. I think he articulated several problems of the game very well. From the tutorial to the story, I say the same things in my personal reviews. Now, the number one gripe I have is toboruo's implanted perspective about the technical test combat. Let me explain to you what happened in the technical test, which was 2 years ago. This was the first ever live test where I might say that less than 1,000 or even 500 people in the global space got to try. The story and the world, extremely bare bones. I don't think a single person has a good thing to say about it, but that could be expected. Technical test is not there to have a fleshed out world or story. It's to test the core concepts of the game. The combat has one characteristic that is so distinctly different from not only the current game, but also any other big gacha game titles out there. You have the ability to control the range or the area of the skills and ultimate. It's very Xenoblade Chronicles-esque and it sounds really cool. I thought that the combat was fun when I also got to try the technical test. It gives a feeling of strategy and closer to Arknights, just like how using someone's skill has a corresponding range. You can also slow down the combat, allowing you more time to think of your actions, seeming like a prime example of strategy. toboruo believes that this combat would have been exceptional if it were the actual version of the game, stating that it would have been more strategy-based and less action-oriented, making it more engaging, especially for people who want complexity, more thinking to their game. His latest video brings up this technical test throughout and is concluded by the end. This is not his first rodeo of sending this message. It's not only including the very first big video he made, but for 6 videos in a row across the entire year. I don't really want to encourage people to go there and watch them all, but if you really want to see the narrative he's constructed every 2 months, you're gonna realize that he had harped on this very same thing. Every video is a new iteration, a new script, a reskin of him trying to prove to people that the supposed initial vision of the game would have been the best way for the game to launch. A lot of people who watch the videos have in a way sympathized with this messaging and feel a sense of the game not knowing what it's doing or what it could have been. This is the core issue I have. How do you, watching those videos, know that the technical test was better than the current game's launch? You never played the technical test. Your only basis is actually playing what it is now. You can't go saying, I've tasted apples but never tasted oranges, and therefore, oranges is better than apples or apples is better than oranges. How does that work? But there's also a sizable proportion that will say, I've tasted apples and I've seen oranges. Therefore, oranges are better than apples. That doesn't make sense. Funnily speaking, this isn't just about how people are comparing the technical tests using toboruo's videos against the current Endfield. This is also like how people are comparing Endfield to any big gacha game titles. Some are using the words of their favorite content creators as they green or red light to play the game rather than making decisions themselves. In any case, I've explained why the rhetoric in much of his videos is flawed. You have no basis to prove what he says, unfortunately making you inclined to believe him since he's the only guy speaking out loud. Any criticisms he makes of the current game, if you played it and feel the same, sure, those are fair, but not the hypotheticals of what could have been being brought up. I never made a video about the technical test. I don't feel right to do so because I had nothing good to say. I finished it feeling that was not a game for me. If I don't enjoy it, why bother inviting negative sentiments? But for this video, I'm actually going to tell you what I think of the technical test combat. It's fun. For a day. Perhaps a week, a month, but it's just not going to last. The base building aspect is a big time sink for people, even right now. Not exactly a necessitated time sink, since you can use others' blueprints, but a lot of you are choosing to not use others' blueprints and genuinely wanting to build your own. Now imagine pairing the base with the technical test's supposed strategic variant. The combat is going to take more time when every skill needs you to decide a range. In one combat, that's perfectly fine. Can and include a hard boss? Okay. Now take that this is a live service game. The likes where you have to play for months, a year, 5 years even. For every battle that you've experienced in Endfield currently, from the mobs to the dungeons to the bosses, you add about 25 or 50% more of your spent time. The time sink is going to become much worse than the factory. You're repetitively in a range deciding screen in your daily dungeons with your same favorite team against the same enemies. Perhaps the sight of a new combat style would have intrigued you early. Finally, a non-Hoyo open world type of combat. But the time for you to become bored of it is so much faster. Imagine that combat against Triagalos or Marble Agglomore. Many of you will be pulling your hairs out if you had to constantly play in that slowdown manner. This is not to say that the technical test variant does not work, but I don't think it works in a game you play regularly. It works so well in premium titles, the one-time purchases where the amount of game time you have to spend is fixed and known. You know the gameplay, you paid for the amount of playtime that have level and enemy designs curated so that you don't get bored. It can work in specific live service games, where rather than a semi-open world concept, it launches new stages in patches, so that it's designed in a way that your time sink is segmented in blocks. This is a very simple way for me to explain to you that in my perspective, the technical test combat would have been terrible for the game. For those who think that the current combat is bad, I'm telling you that the technical test would have actually been worse in my view. But I ask this again. How do you prove that what I just said is true? You never played the technical test. How do you know what it really feels for yourself? If you're someone who formulated your assessment of Endfield using Toboruo's videos to then say Endfield is terrible and to the extent that you haven't even played the game, why let someone dictate your thinking? To me, Tobo has done perhaps the most damage to the Endfield community than anyone else for inciting the perspective that the developers lost their vision or have no backbone to support their own passion. Who are any of us to judge what is the actual intended vision of the game? Tests are called tests for a reason. They tested and they go by what they believe will fulfill their vision. I said this at the start of the video, and I say it again. Endfield right now is not flawless. I might even say it's got a lot of flaws. But despite that, it's a very enjoyable game for many. Whether those flaws can fix itself is what we are paying attention to for those of us choosing to stay. I can't guarantee I'm going to be a long-time player for a year or more, but I know I'm happy to see what they are going to do in the coming patches. When describing the state of combat, does the current combat really have no strategy at all? It's a big ongoing debate, but I've made another review video that touches on that. If you want to hear it, I invite you to watch that whenever. Also, you can watch the 2-hour session where I converse with toboruo about one of his inflammatory videos. Link is in the description. You'll understand my disappointment with how he has broken so many things he said he would and wouldn't do. Don't go yet, I'm closing out this video. Time and time again, he says that he wants the best for Endfield, wanting the game to succeed. But why does his actions not sync with his words? He goes on about how a game for the masses isn't good. But is it just a game that isn't for him that isn't good? He wants the game his way and made 6 different attempts to find new followers of his idea that perhaps was never going there to begin with. Now that the game is out, there is no way he goes back to the same plot, like as if he cannot get over his ex. I don't know what to say if he runs it for the 7th time. There's definitely a divide between me and toboruo, but I don't want a divide for you guys watching where you choose whose side to agree with. In fact, just don't take sides. You have the autonomy to think for yourself. I end with the quote from his first video. A game for everyone is a game for no one. To toboruo, who I know you're watching, have you thought that you're doing all this for yourself instead of for the game or the community? A game not for you does not mean it's not a game for a lot of other people. That's all I can say. What are you trying to do? What is your main objective?
I didn't say that though. Hang on, no, that's a misrepresentation of what I said. I didn't say the game's going to shit. I said I'm disappointed in the direction. I'm disappointed in this decision. I didn't say. I said my passion for the game remains the same. I said I'm still looking forward to Endfield. I said I'll still be there no matter what. I said I'm still going to make all the content I was intending to make before. I didn't say the game's going to shit. That's a misrepresentation.
Does it come to this point of they have to follow what your dodge is in order for them to be doing it right?
No, they don't. They don't have to listen to me specifically. I have no intention of becoming a drama CC. I just, I play the YouTube game a little bit, but it happens to be that the 3 videos I've made about Enfield so far have had this tone to them. This is not a tone that I intend to carry through all of my Enfield videos. If that's of any comfort, and that's never been my intention. That's just kind of how it's played out.
You can say it here, but it's not meant to be said here. This is meant to be said on your own space when you can.
Yeah, I know, but just if it's of any comfort to you,